Hi, I'm Carl Conrad and welcome. If you're wanting to live, work and study in Australia, you should definitely subscribe to our channel. We are Australian Immigration Law Services and we specialise in helping you get your visa. As registered specialists, we are accountable to the Australian Government for the advice and services we provide clients. And since our business has been running for 22 years, you can be certain you are obtaining accurate, honest advice. We're based in Sydney, but we have clients located all around the globe. Have you travelled to Tasmania? It's a stunning place brimming with opportunities. And if you're thinking about getting state-nominated 190 or 491 visa, you should definitely give Tasmania your consideration. And if you needed some convincing about why you should apply for the 190 or 491 visa instead of the 189 visa, watch our videos on the 190 and 491 visas where I talk about some important benefits of these visas. Now, in order for you to be eligible for the 190 or 491 visa, you will need to satisfy both the Immigration Department's requirements as well as the nomination requirements set by a state. Every state operates independently with its own list of eligible occupations, nominated requirements and application processes and dates which they are open for applications. In this video, I will be sharing about the Tasmania's latest requirements, both for the 190 and 491 visas. These requirements were released just on the 29th of January, last Friday. Those of you already in Tasmania when these changes came into effect, do not be alarmed. There's one thing about the Tasmanian government that makes it shine above all others, and that is its consideration for those who have already moved to Tasmania before changes are made. Tasmania offers transitional arrangements to ensure that those who have made the effort to move and commit to Tasmania are not disadvantaged by the changes in sponsorship policy. We've seen this for many years now, and it's a commendable and fair approach to our international visitors, an approach that all states and territories should have, but sadly they do not. So well done, Tasmania. Transitional arrangements have been put into place with regard to those who have or will have begun their studies before the 30th of June this year, and for those seeking to meet the work experience requirements for the 491 visa and began their work before the 29th of January this year. We will discuss this more as we move through the different categories and explain their requirements. However, before we get into those categories, it is important to know that Tasmania has its own skilled occupation list, and you guessed it, it's called the Tasmania Skilled Occupation List, otherwise known as the TSOL. It's derived from the local demand and skill shortages identified by the government's Department of State Growth. And it's great to see in the COVID-19 era that such a huge number of occupations are available. Now, what a great name. Hi, I'm from the Department of State Growth. Sort of has a nice positive ring to it, doesn't it? Not too bossy and like they're trying to do something important for the state. Now, how about changing the Department of Home Affairs to Department of Prosperity and Harmony? Perhaps then those officers standing at the airport arrivals won't look like my Doberman when the delivery man comes. Anyway, back on track. Those who've had skills in areas of particular need within the Tasmanian economy are even higher on the priority list, particularly if you are living in an area outside the Greater Hobart. These are skills in health, trades and construction, engineering and community service sectors. Community services include aged and disability care. These lists will apply to certain categories but not all. We will identify which applicants need which occupations on this list and under which category. In general, though, the graduate categories in both the 190 and 491 sponsorship requirements do not use this list, as they use the Immigration Department's full occupation lists available both in the long-term and short-term demand list. You can find a link to all of these lists in our video's description. It is simplest to remember that Tasmania has a number of categories which outline their requirements for state sponsorship, and they are different for the 190 visa and the 491 visa. The 190 visa has just two categories, Tasmanian graduate and working in Tasmania. Now the 491 visa has many more. In fact, it has 6 of them. They are Tasmania graduates working in Tasmania, overseas applicants using the Tasmanian Skilled Occupation List, overseas applicants using job offers, those who have family in Tasmania, and those who have opened a small business in Tasmania. Today we are going to review and give you an overview of these categories and their requirements. You can skip to the category which best suits you by using the chapter menu in this video. To be eligible under this category, you must have completed and graduated from a CRICOS registered tertiary institution in Tasmania. The length of the course differs in the 190 or the 491 visa requirements. The study load needs to be full-time in both cases. In both visa sponsorship criteria, it requires you to demonstrate how you and your spouse, if you have one, have a genuine commitment to remain and work in Tasmania. Now, this genuine commitment criteria has its own guidelines, and you can find a link to that too in our article on our blog. It is a crucial component to your application to Tasmania, so make sure you read it carefully. If you are currently not working in a skilled employment, you need to provide a career plan to explain how your studies have increased your ability to find work in Tasmania. This explanation can also include areas of employment not directly related to your Tasmanian study. If you began your course before the 30th of June 2021, then you have to meet the Australian study requirement and also live in Australia for 2 years before you can apply. Now don't forget that meeting the Australian study requirement, whilst a requirement for the 190 visa nomination, will also award you 5 points on the points test. If you began your course after the 30th of June this year, then the rules are a little more complex. Again, the course must be of at least 2 years duration. That is set at 92 weeks CRICOS registered. The study does not have to be related to your nominated occupation, but the government will see it as a plus if it is. If you have completed your last course in Tasmania whilst holding a student visa, then the study must meet one of the 2 following criteria. Number 1, a degree, bachelor, master's or higher, or a diploma, standard, advanced, associate or graduate. Number 2, a qualification directly related to a special list called the Priority Industry Training and Workforce Development Areas. This list will be one that is in place when you began your study. This is so that if the list changes, and it probably will, you will be judged by the old list that was there when you started your course. The qualification must be at the minimum qualification level specified for that area. When you have completed your last course and the visa you hold is not a student visa, the study must be related to the Priority Industry Training and Workforce Development Areas that was in force when you started your study. The requirements for the 491 visa are identical to the 190 requirements, except for the course needs to be only CRICOS registered for a minimum of 40 weeks. Your study in Tasmania does not need to meet the Australian study requirement. You also only need to demonstrate 12 months of living in Tasmania. All the other requirements are the same, so there's no need for us to go through them all again here. The article on our blog does list them all separately, so for extra clarification, please have a read. In addition to these rules with regard to the Tasmanian graduate requirements for both the 190 and 491 sponsorship criteria, Tasmania has generous concessions available to those who have been affected by the COVID-19 travel restrictions. Please have a read of these concessions carefully in our article on our blog to see if they apply to your circumstances. The link is provided in the description. Tasmania is actively looking to sponsor people who are working in their state. Under this Working in Tasmania category in both the 190 and 491 requirements, there are a number of common criteria. The genuine commitment to Tasmania requirement is there as it is with all these categories, and the minimum hours per week must be at least 35 hours to meet the full-time criteria, but you can work for more than one employer, that is, have like 2 part-time jobs. You must have an ongoing contract of employment that would meet the Fair Work Ombudsman's national employment standards. The position must be filling a genuine and ongoing skills shortage in Tasmania. The employer or employers must be a business that has been established in Tasmania for at least 12 months. There are areas of employment, however, that Tasmania do not support for the nomination under Working in Tasmania category. This includes employment relating to supermarkets, service stations, limited service restaurants, massage clinics, taxi and Uber driving, subcontracted cleaning businesses, maintenance or security work. Now, there are a number of published detailed guidelines in relation to this category, and it is important that you read them all before you make the application. They can be found on the Tasmanian Government website and in our article on our blog. For the 190 visa, the work has to be in your nominated occupation that is also on the Tasmania Skilled Occupation List, the TSOL. It is important that any English requirement listed for your occupation on the TSOL is met. There is a transitional arrangement in place that if you lodge your 190 nomination application before the 29th of January, then the TSOL in force at that time will remain in force for your application. For the 491 visa sponsorship requirements for this category, the work also must be at least 6 months full-time before you apply. It does not, however, have to be in your nominated occupation or an occupation on the TSOL. If the employment is at a lower skill level ANZCO skill level 4 to 5, the following must be met. The employment is ongoing for at least 6 months beyond the application date. The applicant has no reasonable career development prospects in the industry. It is located at least 50 kilometres from a population centre of more than 5,000 people in a position for which there is a genuine and demonstrated severe labour recruitment difficulty, or it is associated with an aged care individual support unit group 4233 nursing support and personal care workers. Relevant qualifications of at least Certificate 3 are required, or the position involves a specialist qualifications or experience that are not available in the local community, and evidence to prior related employment experience and/or qualifications are provided. For Category 3A, the first thing that you notice is that you cannot apply directly to Tasmania. They are strictly invitation-only applications. This means that the Tasmanian Government is keeping its eye on those who have lodged an expression of interest on the Immigration Department system and have indicated they are seeking sponsorship by Tasmania. Tasmania may then invite those who they choose from the database. This choice will be based upon potential applicants meeting all of the following guidelines. Your nominated occupation should be listed on the Tasmanian Skilled Occupation List. You or any of your dependents have not lived in another Australian state or territory within the last 12 months. You have achieved the English requirements specified on the TSOL for your nominated occupation in a recognised English language test, or hold a passport from the UK, Ireland, the USA, Canada or New Zealand. You meet the other requirements and notes column specified on the TSOL for your nominated occupation. You have access to sufficient financial assets to fund your migration and settlement in Tasmania for at least 6 months while you seek employment. You have researched the Tasmanian labour market, and unless your occupation is listed as high demand on the TSOL, provide evidence that there are sufficient employment opportunities in Tasmania or that you have reasonable prospects for employment related to your occupation. Again, Tasmania has a separate document checklist on their website for more information. And as they may choose as they see fit individuals that do not have an occupation on the TSOL, so you can put in your expression of interest anyway and then fingers crossed that they choose you. In this category, you can apply directly to Tasmania. To meet this category, you must meet all of the following criteria. Have received a formal job offer for a job that is based in Tasmania that is in your nominated occupation. If the job offer is in an area related to the TSOL, you must have the skills assessment in that area and should meet the additional English and registration experience requirements listed for that occupation on the TSOL. You or any of your dependents have not lived in another Australian state or territory in the last 12 months. Your employer must have a well-established business that has been actively operating in Tasmania for the last 12 months. Your wages and conditions must be no less favourable than that would apply to an Australian citizen or permanent resident, and the salary or wages are equivalent to the market salary rate. There is a genuine and ongoing need for your position within the business and the capacity for the business to sustain your employment. Firstly, you must be outside of Tasmania to apply. To be considered under this category, all of the following must be met by the relative. They have been an Australian permanent resident or an Australian citizen for a minimum of 12 months prior to the lodgement of your application. They are currently residing in Tasmania and have been for the minimum of 12 months. You must also be a direct relative, and those relationships by marriage are not considered. They are a parent, brother, sister, child, aunt, uncle or grandparent, and they agree to support and assist you in the process of gaining employment in Tasmania upon your arrival in Tasmania. You need to be able to nominate an occupation from the 491 occupation lists and of course reach the minimum of 65 points. You need to meet all of the following criteria to apply for this category. Demonstrate that you have established and operated your business, solely owned, in Tasmania for at least 6 months. Demonstrate that the business is highly likely to give you a personal income that would meet the minimum taxable income requirement set by Home Affairs for the subclass 191 permanent residence visa. Currently, that is $53,900 per year for at least 3 years in the next 5 years. Show that you have an understanding of the responsibilities and requirements around treating employees fairly by completing key units on the Fair Work Ombudsman's online learning centre. Now, Tasmanian small business owner criteria can be useful for many potential business owners, but the first thing to take notice of are the businesses that they do not support. They are franchise and part-owned or passive business investments and service station, massage clinics and taxi Uber-related businesses. In summary then, Tasmania offers one of the quickest and most direct pathways to state sponsorship by using the work requirement or the study requirement. Of course, like all 491 and 190 visa applications, you need to meet the minimum 65 points to reach the pass mark. You also need to meet the usual health and character requirements the immigration requests in your visa processing. You will need an up-to-date expression of interest on the system, and when Tasmania approves your application, you will get an invitation by the Immigration Department to apply for the 190 or the 491 visa. If you apply and you are in Australia for these visas, you will obtain a bridging visa to stay until the processing is finalised. If you are applying from outside Australia, then no bridging visas are issued, and if you want to visit Australia while you're waiting, you would do so on some other visa category. Now, we hope you enjoyed this video, and yes, it has been a long journey to cover all of Tasmania's requirements. If you found this video interesting, show your support by clicking on the like button. We will be covering other state and territory requirements soon, so turn on the notification bell if you are a subscriber. And as always, take care out there, and I will see you next time.